What's up, guys? Bang, bang, lunch money time. Big news. We're coming to you live from the new studio. No more kitchen. We still got some
Sad.
work to do. Gotta get a little backdrop, gotta get the microphones working, but we got lights, we got you. We're ready to rock and
Guys,
roll with lunch money while Wall Street's trying to get rich. The rest of us trying to get our lunch money right.
I'm sad that the Instant Pot was rejected as a possible backdrop.
Nah, we ain't got time. Ain't nobody got time for no instant pot. All right, so let's get into today. But first, BlockFi is a sponsor. They've got three products. You can buy and sell crypto on their new crypto exchange. You can deposit crypto and earn up to 8.6% APY in their interest bearing accounts. My favorite product. I'm an investor in the company and a user of the product. And then you can also deposit crypto and take out a US dollar loan against your collateral. Go to blockfi.com/lunchmoney or click on the link in the description. No brainer. Interest bearing accounts that pay up to 8.6% APY are quite attractive. All right, what's up with Fortune Global 500? Is that different than Fortune 500?
Yes.
Okay.
The Fortune 500 ranks companies, the top 500 companies by revenue in the United States. The Fortune Global 500 ranks them by revenue around the world.
Okay.
The list is out this morning.
My hair looks real crazy. Go ahead.
The list, don't do that.
Ooh.
The list is out this morning. And for the first time in history, this is a really big deal. There are more Fortune 500 companies based in mainland China and Hong Kong than in the US for the first time in history. There are 124 companies in mainland China and Hong Kong versus 121 in the US. If you add in Taiwan, the total jumps to 133, but that's a whole other issue. Interesting. So just know that being on the list is no guarantee of profitability because it ranks them by revenue and, many of the companies aren't necessarily, the Chinese companies aren't necessarily on there because of their business dynamism, but because they're state-supported monopolies in the world's largest market.
All right, two things. One, we have no clue if any of the metrics are correct in China. I'm not claiming that I know of any that are not correct, but we have seen in the past, there's a great movie with Carson Block and a number of other documentaries where there's a lot of shenanigans that go on in East Asia countries with these companies. Now, let's take it at face value and say that all the metrics are correct. There is no doubt that there is, in the eastern part of the world, a rise in terms of economic prosperity.
Is there a rise in innovation?
Some would argue that they've literally just taken the ideas and stolen the IP, the intellectual property of the Western world, and now they're just using it to their advantage. Others would argue, no, there actually is innovation going on. I'll leave that for anyone else to kind of figure out. But I think that it's just natural. You're going to get this kind of pendulum swing, right? You're going to see sometimes there's going to be way more in the U.S. Historically, that's where it's been. But then you're going to see it swing back. And if you go back, hundreds of years, obviously the U.S. wasn't the leader because the U.S. didn't even really exist. But now you're seeing kind of this swing back to Eastern countries. It's about 50-50 right now, right? So it's not necessarily like it's outweighing on one side or the other. And that's probably pretty healthy.
I think it's healthy for global competition. I don't know if it's a good thing that mainland China has bigger companies than the US, but we'll see.
My big thing is, do they? All right, what's going on with Jimmy Lay? Is it Lay? Lai?
I think it's Lay.
Lay? All right, what's up with
Jimmy
Lay?
So I first found out about Jimmy Lay last August 2019, when he had a big profile in Bloomberg about being a media tycoon in Hong Kong who's very pro-democracy. He had sent his reporters to the front lines of the protests and the riots, and he's just been a thorn in China's side for a very long time, mainland China. Now, Jimmy Lay, known for his support of the city's pro-democracy movement and criticism of China, has been arrested on suspicion of colluding with foreign forces. So he's been basically arrested under that new national security law imposed on the city by Beijing last month.
Is there a free press? They keep saying there is. Doesn't look like it.
Not anymore. Well, I guess
does
not
it
ever.
Look like it? My whole point with all of this is, as much as I rail against the issues with the mainstream media, as much as I rail against all of the issues with clickbait journalism, all that kind of stuff,
We have
you
a
have
free press,
to
guys.
remember there's a free press, and when you have a free press, there are significant advantages. And one of them is that they can say the things that are unpopular. They can say the things that they believe to be true. They can serve as a kind of a gut check, or a watchdog on those in power, right? And so when you start arresting reporters, it's not good.
And there's not a fear that what you report on might get you arrested or have your car blown up or things like that you see in other countries. That is quite scary. Apparently,
but I also believe that if reporters break the law, they should be required to go to jail just like anybody else. And so there is a fine line, and this is a very fine line, similar to the police who receive immunity if they break the law in many cases, right? That they're immune because they just say, oh, I'm a police officer, like I was doing my job. Well, there needs to be checks. And so I'm actually of the belief that you should have freedom of press, but there should be penalty when you get things wrong.
So there have been examples in history where certain publications, like the Stephen Glass case, he worked for this publication where he published a number of fabricated cover stories for them. He was caught, he got in trouble, the publication kind of like went away, but he was caught by another journalist. So I think, there's checks and balances.
But did he get in trouble?
Yeah.
What?
He got fired, and I think there was legal repercussions.
Yeah, like that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be like a jail thing. It doesn't have to be like a quote unquote crime thing necessarily. But just like there has to be some sort of punishment or penalty when you do things, especially if it's malicious. Especially. It's one thing if you just do it out of by accident, or you did it thinking it was correct, right? It's another thing when you like the guy at BuzzFeed, who I don't know if you guys remember, there's a guy at BuzzFeed who BuzzFeed supposedly came out and were like, oh, we found all these articles have been plagiarized. And I think the guy like still has his job and is like perfect.
I don't think so. In journalism, so to prove somebody did something, you have to prove malicious intent, which is very difficult, but it is not, impossible.
All right. What's up with
wait, the other thing is for Jimmy Lay, they basically arrested him in the newsroom and took him out in handcuffs, and his reporters began videoing and like doing journalism. But it's just pretty crazy. Okay.
Do you think they wanted, like, obviously they did that because they wanted it on the news? It's a scare tactic.
For who? Well, not a scare tactic. I think they were just doing their job.
All right. What's up with Twitter?
Twitter has approached TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance to express interest in acquiring the U.S. operations of the video sharing app. What do we think about that?
I think that would be irresponsible of any large technology company right now not to kind of kick the tires a little bit and say, hey, what do you got? How much do you want for it? What exactly would it look like if you divested of this asset? How much staff would we take on? What are the costs to operate this? Is it profitable? Is it not? What's your revenue look like? What are your projections in the future about advertising revenue? Like, you want to just kind of understand what's going on. So if you're a large technology company, like to me, it seems kind of a no-brainer that you'd be kicking the can or kicking the tires. But do you remember Twitter once owned Vine? And I saw somebody online that said, how ridiculous and crazy would it be if Twitter shut down Vine only to turn around within 2 to 3 years and buy TikTok for $30 billion? Also unlikely, because I think Twitter's market cap, if I remember correctly, is like 25 or 30 billion. So you would basically have to double the size of your market cap in order to make the purchase. And so what you would have to do is either issue a ton of shares or you'd have to go do something from a financing standpoint to even have the capital to be able to do this.
Can I ask a question that to me is ridiculously obvious, but nobody seems to be asking?
Sure.
Okay, Twitter and Microsoft have been rumored, or not rumored, in some cases confirmed, to be expressing interest in buying TikTok. Why the hell is Facebook not expressing interest?
Well, a couple of things. One is they probably have, and it's just not been reported. And two is
to me, that's the obvious no-brainer.
Yeah, this is a wild take, but I think that they're going to beat TikTok.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think that if you allow this to play out long enough, I think Facebook, when they did Instagram stories, realized the playbook. So historically, Facebook has pursued one of two strategies. Either they buy you, or if they want to compete with you, they try to create like their own standalone applications. and that very quickly became obvious, like that's not a thing. Now what they've realized with Instagram stories is, wait, why don't we take the functionality of a different application and merely incorporate it into one of our core properties? So they did Facebook stories, they did Instagram stories, and those have been wild successes and drastically now kind of outperform in usage the competitor Snapchat. And so I think that what you end up seeing here is they just released Instagram Reels. They're going to bake that into the product. Literally, you find it right in the feed. And the whole idea is what TikTok had in terms of its functionality was set behind a big wall of friction. And that wall of friction was you had to go download a new application, you had to sign up for an account, you had to figure it out, you had to build a new audience.
You didn't have to sign up for an account.
To use it, yes, you do. To like create content.
To create
right,
content.
Yeah, not necessarily just to consume. But the whole idea is then you got to build your own audience, you got to like do all this kind of stuff. Now, if they can simply take that functionality and they can bolt it into Instagram, there's a lot of people who say, rather than go start a whole new thing where I got to build a whole new audience, instead I can just do this here. And I think that what you're going to see is an explosion of usage of that product.
And if you guys remember, a lot of these celebrities, traditional celebrities that we consider, well known in the media today, they had a hard time building followings on TikTok because they had to start over. But this way, if it's on Instagram, they already have their built-in audience. It's much easier for them to just create content and have it go viral.
All right, what's up with Wendy's?
All right, Wendy's.
McDonald's is better.
Well, Wendy's is eating McDonald's breakfast.
What?
On March 2nd, Wendy's finally launched its highly anticipated breakfast menu nationwide, and then 2 weeks later, the morning commute collapsed because of COVID. Yet, breakfast now accounts for 8% of Wendy's total sales, a figure the fast food chain is celebrating because it hoped it would amount to 10% of total sales by the end of the year.
What is the market share of breakfast eaten at fast food restaurants that Wendy's has versus McDonald's? My guess is that McDonald's is so far ahead they can't even see Wendy's in the rearview mirror.
Apparently, McDonald's has been struggling.
Well, yeah, because we had a pandemic and then it shut down.
Right, but Wendy's breakfast, because so it has some really weird, unlike McDonald's and all the other ones, it has kind of a weird breakfast. Like, it has the breakfast baconator and the frosty chino. Like, who is getting that for breakfast? But it seems to be working.
So McDonald's is still bigger.
I don't know.
So in fact, Wendy's is not eating McDonald's as breakfast.
I don't know.
It is merely. I know. Okay. I read the internet. And instead, what you end up finding is that McDonald's is merely looking at Wendy's and saying, "Good try, good try."
McDonald's sales are.
You want to know what McDonald's? You want to know what McDonald's came out with a while ago? That was an absolute game changer. I had it a couple times. McGriddles. If you've ever had a McGriddle, leave a comment and I'll go through and I'll respond to you about the McGriddles because those things are dangerous.
Do you want to get McDonald's for lunch?
What's going on with education?
All right. So, power duo Michelle Obama and Melinda Gates wrote a joint op-ed in CNN today. No, not today, a few days ago. Whoops. But basically, they're saying like a lot of schools worldwide due to COVID won't come back in person, and that endangers a lot of kids' education, but especially those of adolescent girls. So even before COVID-19 struck, more than 98 million adolescent girls worldwide were not in school. Now, due to ripple effects from the pandemic, the Malala Fund predicts an additional 20 million girls of secondary school age could remain out of school. And that's, Melinda and Michelle are arguing that this is a risk to their safety and security because during a crisis like this, adolescent girls face a heightened threat of physical and sexual violence, early and forced marriage, and unintended pregnancy on top of sustained economic hardship. So now they're teaming up and they are helping with resources to continue their education online. And they're doing something like there's organizations like the Sacred Valley Project in Peru and Kenya's Dream in Kenya. And they have developed innovative solutions to give girls like radios and printed materials to help them learn.
First question, do we think that they actually write the op-eds or their teams do under their name?
This is a non-issue.
No, hold on. Here's my question. Because I've always thought that the teams wrote it, but then when you have two big people write it together, like I feel like there's a lot of.
I think they all get together, have the ideas, and then their teams probably flush it out.
Yeah, but then you gotta like collaborate two teams. Like this is big.
Well,
This
but then
big thing.
you submit it to the publication edits it for style and for their style, etc.
I didn't know that. All right. So on the actual topic itself, no brainer. Education is probably the most powerful thing you can do.
But you know how you don't think, like in the US, you're like, oh, okay, we're not going back to school in person. It's okay. We'll just do it from like online learning. Duh. But like in other countries, it's not as simple and it's not as accessible.
Of course. That's why we're a developed country and other countries are developing. We're
I know, but
non-developed
you know how
countries.
you always say that education is the great equalizer if it can be done online, but it's just for a lot of these kids, if you don't go in person,
Well,
you don't
have,
get an education.
You don't have to do it online. I mean, look, before the internet existed, people got very educated. The way they did it was knowledge got passed down from person to person to person. Now, is it more efficient? Is it more powerful? Is it all? Of course, the internet makes everything so much better. But I don't think that we want to get in a world where we have this binary view, like, oh, if it's on the internet, then it's real education. If it's not, then it's not valuable. But at the same time, part of the beauty of this is if you have an internet connection, you have access to all this information. And so ultimately what, if you go to like a Facebook, a Google, whatever, part of their whole mission, Facebook, internet.org, I was there when they were building some of that. It's just like, just get people the internet. If you get them internet access, now there's benefits to the tech companies, right? Obviously, there's more people on the internet, they can make more money. But also, it was just like, you can really, really empower people. Like, just give them access to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Right? Just this database full of knowledge is pretty good. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, if you're just an American who grew up here and never kind of really traveled internationally, is women generally, like in Afghanistan, is a perfect example. Like, go to the extreme example. I think it's after a certain age, the Taliban believes that women shouldn't be educated. And it's like 6 or 8, or like, and I'm probably getting some of the numbers wrong.
But
or
no,
whatever
that's
it is.
an extremist group. These are not the people of Afghanistan.
Yes, of course. And so like there are still pockets in the world of like this very, very kind of like antiquated view of the world that I obviously don't agree with. I think most people don't agree with.
Well,
but I do think that we've seen time and time again that educating a population in general leads to great performance and outcomes, but also specifically focusing on educating women, especially young girls, can significantly push forward an entire society. Because they're half the population.
Not even that, but like I can't imagine being in a place where, like think about it. If you're not in school, your family's like, okay, well, we're gonna just like marry you off so you can have a better life than being single and uneducated. And you're being forced into things and like early marriages, early pregnancies, all that stuff. It's just really.
That's what your dad did. Your dad told me she's gonna marry you. Yeah, first time I ever met him, he's like, she's gonna marry you.
That's not.
I was like, does a dowry come with this?
That's not at all what happened.
Kidding. All right, what's up with George Bush?
All right, guys, I have
George
a dilemma.
W.
I have a dilemma.
What's up with W?
George W. Bush, you can attest to this.
W.
Stole my idea for a book.
I don't know if he stole
He
it.
stole my idea for a book.
I think he beat you to it.
I don't know. George, if you're listening, call me. Okay, so my idea for a book was to interview immigrant founders in all 50 states and like small business owners and tell their stories. Well,
I don't want to break it to you right now. I don't think he's doing that.
No, he is. So he's releasing 43 portraits of immigrants. Okay, it might not be the 50 states. 43 immigrant portraits that he painted himself alongside their story. And it's called Out of Many One, which is a nod to,
Are there actually going to be stories, or is it just
there will be stories,
just paintings?
See accompanying stories.
Oh, all right. Well, just so we're clear, he has a similar idea to you. I don't know if he stole it from you.
George. George, we gotta talk.
And
I like George.
Are you gonna paint? Because I've seen the stick figures you paint, and I don't know if people are gonna be buying the book.
First of all, I don't paint stick figures. I draw them by hand.
What do you think he's painting with his toes? Yeah, of course he paints by hand as well.
Yeah, but
we got to work on your artistic abilities. No worries.
Oh, because you're so artistic. Come on,
guys. When you see what we're about to do to this studio area, you guys are gonna be like, "Wow! Look at his vision! Wow! Look at his creativity! Wow! Look at how awesome he is!"
If you've been with us since day one, since the bad acoustics, the bad mics, the bad No, actually, I'm not gonna insult my Instant Pot. But
guys, I got this big ass microphone right here, and I can't get it to work yet. But I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna get it working. Don't worry. I'm on the case. All right, what's up with your joke?
All right, ready?
If I just talk into the microphone, will that be good? Yeah, go ahead.
What do you call a row of rabbits hopping away?
A row of rabbits hopping away? Bunnies.
No.
What?
A receding hair line. Like a hair.
Are you trying to tell me something?
No, you have a great hair.
You trying to tell me
You have
something?
a great hair. Okay.
I didn't find that one funny.
Oh, look at how your hair's sticking out right here. I like that.
Okay, alfalfa.
Alfalfa.
Go this way. I gotta go this way. Yeah, alfalfa. Little thing going on.
All right.
All right. Ooh, right there. Oh, you see it? You see it? Yeah, there we go. Just so you guys know, sometimes I like to have a little fun. No worries. All right, that's it for Lunch Money today. We appreciate you guys watching. We're Wall Street's trying to get rich. The rest of us trying to get our lunch money right. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Leave a comment. Do all the things to help us get to 100,000. We're so close. We're less than 4,000 subscribers away from 100K. Let's go.
Ooh, 100K.
Bang, bang. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Lunch Money as much as we did.
And don't forget, Lunch Money is now sponsored by Blockfi, so go check them out. There's a link in the description that you can click on. I'm an investor, a user, and a huge fan. What?
You're a bigger fan of Blockfi than you are of me?
Blockfi is my second favorite thing in the world behind Polina. They've got 3 products. They can give you a US dollar loan. You can earn up to 8.6% interest on an interest-bearing account, or you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies on their crypto exchange. I personally use the interest-bearing account. There's not very many places where you'll find up to 8.6% interest on a deposit in an interest-bearing account. Go do your own research. There's risk associated, but 8.6% is pretty compelling. So click on the link in the description. Say thanks to the folks at Blockfi. Subscribe to our channel. Like the video. Annoy Polina in the comments. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And be kind to your friends.